in some cities all over the world, the city government has approved things that are good for growth and not good for the people with the $25 million homes in the hills. All right, and there's just this delusion in California you guys have about being progressive and everything else. When you actually have very regressive housing policies that are transfers of wealth from working people to a reclining landed gentry, basically. And it's just wrong, okay? But also it's bad policy. It leads to all the problems that you guys have in California. And in California, who do you blame for? You blame the productive members of your community. Okay, you blame the productive businesses. You say they're the ones who are the problem. That's why our housing prices are high. And it's just completely distorted and despicable.
As a productive,
in Los Angeles, feel free to go to a city council meeting and bring it up.
wait, as a productive member of California with a great credit score, and has never missed a payment of anything, I want to say, Jason, you are wrong. It is the Republicans' fault, and I'm done.
Yeah, you're
It's the Republicans' fault. They don't manage the damn state.
Right.
Okay. Like, it's like blaming the Republicans in California is like Dan Patrick and Governor Abbott blaming the Democrats for why Texas politics is so fucked up.
California is fucked up because of capitalism, and the right wing in this country has kept capitalism alive.
Yeah, that's not my point. My point is it's a clearly all blue state, which is solidly blue, down to city councils, and if they're choosing to do dumb things, that's not Republicans. Just like in Texas, when the Texas legislature decided to do really dumb fucking stuff, like not winterize the power grid when it gets told 5 separate times by the state legislature over a period of like 15 years, right? Like, that's not a Democratic problem. That's a Republican governance problem. In the same way that, like, not taking care of the underbrush or, like, moving stuff out in California is the vast majority of the time a blue issue. From what I understand in California, and correct me if I'm wrong, Labubu, but, like, Bakersfield is, like, a pretty strong Republican place, but that's, like, basically about it.
That's the biggest shithole in California, right? Bakersfield, Modesto, Fresno, Central California.
Southern California, Los Angeles is about the only kind of blue. You have San Diego, you have Orange County.
It's a big problem with California.
So, then the Democrats in the state have just gerrymandered the ever-living hell out of the state in such a way that the Republican representation can't get through.
Oh no, it's getting through. We're gonna probably our chance of having a Republican governor is pretty high. So.
Well, that's
Yeah, no, like one Republican governor or state has been controlled by the Democratic Party high and low for the last like 30 years. That's an outlier, right? Like, I don't like to. I find when I'm a partisan hat, people listen to me less. So I'm not being hackish, I'm just being honest. If Texas has problems at the state level, it's a Republican issue because the Republicans govern the state. If California has issues at a state level, that's a Democratic problem because the Democrats govern the state. Right? Like,
Look, I think Marshall, I think you're a very smart guy.
am I oversimplifying it?
No, what I'm getting at for here is that I think there's a misalignment of like our epistemology here, one could say, right? In that
Okay, teach me the right vocabulary. Always gotta go there.
the right wing does not think in terms of systems and structures and mechanisms and processes of systems and structures that lead to potential outcomes of society, right? Instead, the right wing thinks in terms of conspiracy. You have many conspiracies on the right wing. The right wing is nothing but conspiracy theory. The most famous, you had QAnon, where they literally believed Hillary Clinton was eating children.
Drinking their blood. but yes,
Yeah.
I'm quite aware.
So I guess what I want to get at is, why would we want non-systematic thinkers to run California, and why would we want what is generally regarded in America as the less intelligent party, the Republican Party, to run California?
I mean, I'm not suggesting they do. What I am suggesting from your comments is that to blame Californian politics on the right simply isn't true, in the same way that to blame Democratic politics in Texas is untrue, right? Like, yes, at a local level, they're probably more red, but the big suburban centers overwhelm the countryside all the time, right? So how does that function? Right? Like that doesn't seem like it's a right wing problem. That seems like it's a Democratic problem at the state level, and that it's been gerrymandered in such a way that it draws out the hefty Republican municipal areas. And if that's the truth, because Texas is drawing out Republican districts or Democratic districts, then in some way the Californians are no better than the Texans, right? They gerrymandered the ever living hell out of their state to make sure the one political party had overwhelming control. Like, that's no better than what the Republicans did in my state.
Marshall,
Okay.
Californians don't plan to be better than Texans. In only one sense are we. We have the Pacific Ocean.
No, I'm not saying Californians claim that. I'm saying
No, I know.
yeah, the idea that California politics and the outcomes are somehow in the laps of the right makes no sense.
Well, it's the last. I mean, it's whoever's in charge of polling. I mean, kind of, like Texas has had the states where they haven't weatherized their electricity grid and it goes out every winter.
Yeah, that was not what I took umbrage with, though. I took umbrage with the analysis that Californian politics are the right wing's fault.
We're spending a lot of time on it. It was just a joke.
Oh, I didn't catch the joke. It went straight over
Ah, it was a joke. I see.
Just a mistake.
May I start
Anyway,
comment on a new topic?
what would you like to say?
So, has anyone here seen the TV show King of the Hill? It was Bertrand.
Yes, I fucking love it. It's a great show.
Has anyone else here seen it, or only Marshall and me?
Why don't you tell us what you
So there's a character on the show, Dale Gribble. And Dale Gribble is a conspiracy lunatic. And Dale Gribble, Richard Hanania, who I despise actually, wrote this great essay on how the Republican Party is the party of Dale Gribble. And so, one should completely throw away the nonsense of the Republican Party. They are not systematic thinkers, they are not structural thinkers, they do not understand mechanisms and processes and how they lead to potential outcomes, how potential inputs lead to a wide variety of potential outputs. And so, I do think we should shame people who are right-wing. And I would also like to make another comment. That is to Gumby.
Thank you. I'm listening carefully. Thank you.
Me and Gumby had an interesting conversation. And I guess this is what I mean when I say the right wing is full of conspiracy theorists and low IQ.
Is this what you were talking about earlier, where you said don't take everything you said with a grain of salt?
Yeah, so I'll just repeat it for the new people in the room. So me and Gumby and a couple of other people, we were having a conversation. And during the conversation, Gumby keeps bringing up this supposed MIT paper that completely backs up his argument. Now, of course, everyone would know you're not supposed to cite the institution the paper is from. You cite the professor, but I guess he didn't know that. But nonetheless. And so I asked Gumby, the supposed MIT paper, he studied in detail, he's read a lot. Can he summarize it for us? Gumby goes, it would take a lot of time, and I don't want to waste the room's time. I'm like, okay, that's quite odd. Can you at least tell us the methodology? more about genetics, and as everyone here knows, well, Benjamin is back. I already told the story, so I won't tell it again because Benjamin's back. But yeah, this guy's a complete.
Would either of the
Yeah,
moderators like to respond?
hold on 2 seconds. All I gotta say, he's not a sample of the majority of people that are conservative and not extreme right wing. Gumby tends to do this thing where he makes broad, overarching claims and then cites stats that are not really accurate. That's, at least for me, Labubu, those aren't the people I work with at the local level, and they're not the people I have to interact with at the state level. They don't act like that. Don't get me wrong, we have plenty of crazy people in our party. I would never deny that. But I don't think Gumby is a representation of moderates or conservatives. Maybe he's a representation of the conspiracy far right-hand side of the aisle. But at least from my work, I don't, and it's limited to geographical area. So maybe what I see is not what everybody else sees, and maybe what you see is not what I see. But I don't find that I deal with many people on the right who do stuff in the GOP that are super big conspiracy theorists.
Well, Marshall, I'll respond succinctly as I always do. You're completely correct. I don't speak for anyone. And the success of America is mostly because we have the retards are divided between two parties and the conspiracy theorists are divided between two parties. And in some countries, they're all in the same party. So the wonderful thing about America is the responsible people in both parties are usually able to defeat the retards and the conspiracy theorists. And God help America if the retards and conspiracy theorists all wind up in the same party, because they would win and screw the rest of us. And I'm done speaking.
Teacher, you're new, and for some reason I have a mod badge, so I decided to poke at you and see what you had to think of the topic you were just listening to.
Well, I just got here. What have you been talking about?
We were talking about California urban management, why low-density areas have higher prices, I think. And I got on this tangent about the right, Labubu was making the example that somebody like Gumby represents a portion of the right. He never said substantial, he never said a key portion, but a portion of the right, which I don't disagree with, but I don't feel like describe the people I work with in politics who are moderates and conservatives. It describes the craziest of people who I have to throw out of politics in my area. But I don't again, I live in a 95% Hispanic area, it's a unique area, so maybe what I see is not what everybody else sees. So that was kind of the general trend of the conversation.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll say this. I think Ezra Klein has a good thing on California building costs, housing, rail. I heard that Texas, the cost to build a square foot in Texas is 4 times less than California. And from what I saw watching Ezra Klein, it has to do with the regulations in California and the special interests. So because of the regulations, you can get into this perpetual suing hell.
It's the cast of California Democrats. Democrats, they use racism. I'll be honest, they use racism to hide their caste. And what they want.
I don't know about that. But...
Well, they use their power wherever they have it to enforce laws that make it difficult for people who are poor to get ahead. And then they turn around and pass another law that makes
I
it easy
disagree
for
with that,
somebody.
considering I live in the South where a majority of black people live, and they're poor. Black people are poor in red states than blue states. So objectively, less education, poorer, worse health outcomes. Look at Alabama, Georgia, Florida.
Do you know poverty line stats off the top of your head, or do you have to look that up? I the question it raises in my head is, like, in the South, what majority of black voters are lower middle class, and what majority of black voters are upper crust, upper middle class, like lower middle class, and like what percentage is below the poverty line in these states? Because like I'll give you an example where I live, poverty line is $21,500. We're the poorest area in my state. And I'm sure that in places in East Texas that have black populations, they experience poverty as well. I just don't know the numbers for it. Do you?
No, not for Texas. I think Alabama.
For where you live, do you know the numbers?
Georgia, Alabama, 20 something percent.
Live below the poverty line?
Yeah, or at or below, I believe.
At or below the poverty line?
Yeah.
What's the stats on saving? Right, the vast majority of Americans can't afford a $500 emergency. In the African American community, is that stat even higher or is it lower?
Most Americans can't afford a $500 emergency, but they rock a $1,200 phone.
Yeah, but look, in all fairness, Benjamin, I was asking a teacher, and I'm asking specifically about where he lives. I'm curious about the numbers he knows. Because I don't know those numbers.
I think the definition of poverty in America has changed a little bit. I think the definition of poverty in America is that you have to borrow somebody's Netflix ID on your iPhone.
No, I mean, colloquially, if you're having a conversation,
Well,
maybe it's changed, but the
look,
measure hasn't changed.
We have kind of lost sight of anything substantive or in Uchihama.
Well, let's tie it back to something substantive. Would you mind tying us back to it?
So, to back up, I think Meg Sita had a lot to say about the cost of housing in California, and I guess all I and Hanson were arguing here is that, well, I mean, if you look at it from a policy perspective, it makes sense. The real problem in California is the policies that the government has chosen there, and that's why housing is expensive. And expensive housing makes people poor, and that's bad. And but definitely the right people. So I don't know. Does Meg Sita have any objections?
And you've been pretty quiet. What do you think of all this?
What do I think of all this?
Yeah, you've been listening for a while now. Like, what do you make of the conversation? Where do we get things right? Where are we overlooking shit? What shit did we not even bother to consider?
I'm trying to find construction cost per square foot. I can find a bunch of different things on here, but I'm trying to find it on a state-by-state basis. It's very hard to determine based on, you can get it on a zip code, but getting it across the state, because there's so much variance in states.
But you just pick a major city in the state. You pick a comparable area. If you
Sure.
do this in
Sure. But I found the conversation really fascinating, and I think that is like, we have these conversations, and I think the cost of housing, I think, is the biggest driver of so much of what we're talking about. Like, again, I'll speak for the areas that I've lived in, but particularly here in Maine, there's so many empty houses and there's so much open land. It's not a densely populated area compared to a lot of the country, and yet there is so many people here that struggle with housing instability. Like, it's a little wild. I think that there's a variety of different reasons for it. I think the fact that we threw Airbnb out there just the way that we did it, and it completely jacked up the rental markets in a lot of areas, kind of had some effects that I don't really think were properly accounted for.
Again, this is the whole thing. It's like, Ben, like, using housing, having accommodations, it's not a problem. It's like Airbnb is not a problem. Okay, it's just another use of accommodations, and it supplies accommodations that people need. That's why they pay for them, right? And then, but why is that supply in tension with other supply of accommodations? Because it is too difficult to build the accommodations.
Sure, and that's where I would agree. Is like, if again, speaking for my state, but like if I wanted to radically drop, the cost of accommodation here in the state of Maine, I would blow away most barriers to entry when it comes to regulations, when it comes to, like, yeah, I would make this a very, again, similar to what Texas is doing. And I've talked to people in the real estate development field, and they're saying, why would I dump my money into Maine as opposed to Texas? We're also seeing this in terms of how difficult it is to be a landlord. And look, I'm all in favor of tenants' rights, but like some of the protections here in the state of Maine are absurd, and like what you're able to do as a landlord versus what you're not. And I have some experience in this field. It's just like, it's crazy. Like the cost of getting people, bad tenants out is like, it's crazy. Like it's just like, and again, tenants' rights are a good thing. Those protections are in place for a reason. A lot of them are, but the people that know those laws the best oftentimes are the people who are taking advantage of it. And so you're basically making it like you're taking away a lot of incentive for people to build with the intention of renting.
I mean, it depends, right? If it's easy to build more units, then maybe you don't care. If there are like some tenants you have to write off or something.
No, I mean,
especially if the cost of building the unit is lower.
But the
cost of maintaining it is lower.
If I'm a private property owner, let's say I'm not a developer or anything like that, let's just say for the sake of argument, I want to buy a 10-unit property, an apartment building, and say, okay, like one bad tenant can basically cut out most of your income potential. It's your margins are decent, but they're not amazing. And so you're seeing a lot of quote unquote property management companies come in because a lot of people just, they don't want to deal with the hassle of having to lawyer up and go through all these different procedures if they get a bad tenant. And there's a lot of bad tenants. It's just the nature of the beast. So if I'm looking to invest in a place like Maine, I might be looking at here and going, I'm not really sure that this is where I really want to put my money.
Well, okay, but this is just repeating what you're saying, what you earlier said.
I mean, it is, but I was trying to answer your point about like why it's if you're able to own a bunch of units, then you're maybe not as worried about a bad tenant. And my point is, if you have a bad tenant, it doesn't, unless you're talking on large scale, it doesn't really matter how many units you have. It just, I guess it increases your.
But unless it's at large scale, right?
Right. That's my point.
Yes, but that was what I was saying. Was at large scale, you don't care, right?
Right. But again.
Okay, and then that is a way that people can be supplied with housing. Okay. So like, I don't know. We don't have to make everything like super favorable to the businesses. You know?
Well, no, but what I'm saying is like, okay, so a lot of your investments are coming from out of state, and a lot of your investments are coming from your big.
Okay, but those are things that are done at scale.
Right. So again, I'm trying to make life better for Mainers, right? Like I want to increase prosperity within my community, drop housing prices, but also encourage people who are here, and I want to encourage increase.
But dropping housing prices does not increase the wealth of the people there.
No, it
does. If you drop the housing prices, then the people who are there have lost housing value.
Yes, which isn't going to increase the wealth because housing is not worth anything. So the allocation of money into housing is a misallocation. And also the people who own houses are generally weighted toward people who are not working anymore anyway. So like housing value is a bad thing. Housing should not cost money. Rent should be low. Okay? This is not a productive asset. It's just a place that people live. You want assets in the state to be freed up for productive purposes. Okay? Factories, buying a car, okay, people buying tools and things like that. You know. So yes, the people who own housing will take a haircut because they have put a lot of money into a non-productive asset. And we keep delaying that reckoning all over the country, and that's a problem. Okay, that's a problem. We cannot keep delaying that reckoning. The value of housing has to go down, or the more general way is it has to stand still for like 20 years.
Right, and so again, what you're seeing in a lot of these areas is not necessarily. This has always been the case in Marshall. I'd be curious, or anybody, quite frankly, I'd be curious to know your experiences or the numbers, etc. on this. But like, it seems to me as though like wages have just not caught up with the cost of housing in these other areas, right? So
No, it's come to a place where healthcare, housing, and then I think like bare necessities like groceries are starting to make up between 15 and 30% each. I'm not sure of the exact statistic though.
well, so it used to be housing was 20%. Like that was the golden number when it came to rentals. It was like when you were renting, say 10, 15 years ago, the golden number was 20, where you didn't want to spend any more of 20% of your gross income on housing. Now it's 30%. That's a very, very significant margin, especially if you're talking about what you're able to put away for savings to, potentially save up for your own, to put down on a down payment, those types of things. It's a huge amount, especially when, again, your wages are increasing, but they're just not increasing at the rate that you're seeing groceries and gas and these other things increase.
Yes, yeah. So you're talking about a very real problem there, but an unrelated problem.
Well, no, it's related in the sense that I agree with you, Jason.
So please let me explain.
Okay.
It is not really tied to anything to do with housing. It is tied to do with the relative allocation of productivity improvements to capital versus labor. Okay, which is a different problem. But housing itself has experienced this big price increase relative to other goods, and that's because of all these protectionist policies.
Okay, I'm gonna spice this up a little bit. I feel like we've been in first gear doing really favor some work, and we got to make this a little more snappy, a little more interesting. If you're in the short bus, you got to make an effort, get on the edge of your seat, pay attention, try to understand things on the first pass.
We do have some new pictures, so we should probably get to review. It's supposed to rise to Lenny.
Right. Let's see what we can do with that. Zelani, what are your views on the Democratic Department of Homelessness and Heroin Addiction? Do you think the Democrats? I figure that the best way to predict what the Democrats will do going into an election is they will increase homelessness as much as possible, and they will increase heroin addiction to the highest level possible, probably in the city where they hold the Democratic. What do they have every year? Political convention.
Is none playing air hockey?
Yeah.
Either
Wait a minute, we gotta figure out what Nun's doing just by listening.
It sounded like air hockey.
We need stories. What's my point here?
Oh, sorry, it's just back. Was that off me? So my I was just like, okay.
Yeah, so it's either cooking or air hockey.
Okay. I think she was probably like killing the goat or something.
Exactly.
Is that a euphemism?
No, just like getting it done. Okay, Derisive is here, Zolini is here. Zolini, I'd like to know if you think there's like a more obvious thing the Democrats could do. Now, they might make Mondani like promote him to some senator for the midterm. That seems like it has a reasonable proposal, and then they'll have like a Palestine, Gaza, Islam march with Mondani at the front, a stack of crowds going through New York. That could be one trick they could do. My theory is they've got a trick up their sleeve to lose the midterms, and we just don't know what it is yet. And I'm just looking for guesses, people who can kind of imagine what the Democratic Party will have to do. So they can load up the subways. That's what they should do. They should load up make the subways a heroin enforcement-free zone, I bet they could get maybe 20 heroin addicts per subway car. Like, maybe so there's just no extra seats. 3 seats per addict. What? Joe, I invited you up. You got a better idea than loading up the subway cars with heroin addicts?
Okay,
Well, it's the part of Americans.
heroin isn't even available anymore. It's all fentanyl.
Nobody can afford heroin anymore, right? It's all shooting fentanyl.
I don't even
That's
think
good.
it's not produced anymore.
I'm booming here. I'm not like a boomer. To be fair, all the kids in my class died of heroin addiction.
I was gonna say, you know,
It's definitely like 90s and 2000s coded, but
yeah,
the Democrats don't need a trick. Bill Maher said this on a show the
Oh.
other day. There's the 3 I's, which is around, inflation, and ICE. Those are 3 issues the Republicans are extremely unpopular on, and that's their.
No, I understand. If the Democrats could just like hold still and not fuck up, they could probably get through the primaries in a pretty good order. But here's my guess.
I don't think that's the Democrats. To be frank, I don't think it's the Democrats' issue nationally. They're focusing on how bad Trump is and the Jeffrey Epstein files when what produced wins for them in special elections, which was so expensive that they went down to the county level for the first time since 2010 for Democrats, was affordability. Hey, Donald Trump's full of shit. He was going to make the economy better. The inflation is worse. The oil prices are worse. This is worse. Your healthcare prices are worse. Right? And like that produced them big wins. Sticking around with Epstein, sticking around with the Iran war. Well, the Iran war is probably not a bad thing. But like the economy was the thing that had the most success with.
Yeah,
So
I like
pursue the
this.
economy,
I like this
they'll be
theory.
successful. If they pursue a hatred of Donald Trump, the Epstein files, and some sort of other weird shit, they probably won't be as successful as they could be.
They're sure
Well, I mean,
should.
they're going to follow the economy, right? Like you can almost see the ad. In fact, you're going to see the ad.
Yeah, right. The ads, like, I'm saying this because the ads write themselves.
They're sure
Well,
should.
the ads certainly write
should.
themselves, and you have a good narrative, right? You have, Donald Trump. Gas prices are at some dollar a dollar a gallon. Fucking Donald Trump talking about his goddamn ballroom that you pay $1 billion. You just juxtapose all the things that are hurting Americans in their real life and juxtapose it on the bullshit this administration is actually focuses on, like wars in the Middle East that we're supposed to not have it. And you have
How much
very
faith do
effective.
you have the National Democratic Party will actually take those lessons and not like jump onto some obscure hobby horse? And I only say this, and maybe you heard me say this in back room, but I was in DC several months ago, and I got to go to dinner with the chief of staff for Republican Congresswoman and the chief of staff for Democratic Congresswoman. And the Democratic Congresswoman said to me, "You know what the Republican saving grace is?" And I said, "No." And she said, the Democratic Party. And then she gave an example of a meeting she was in with some activists. And this is the example of the kind of stuff she's talking about when she says this.
So
She was at. I'll let you get right back to it because I think this is valuable to what you're saying.
I agree. I was just going to answer it. I was just going to say, I have all the faith in the world. The professional apparatus will follow my advice. I have absolutely.
Brent was under the misguided assumption that we wanted to hear, we needed to hear from Brent and not Marshall. Marshall,
No, I like him, but he's answering my question.
You were telling a story about conversation
Yes, but
back group.
Look, I like Brent. Brent and I know each other. We have a rapport. It's okay. Sometimes I interrupt Brent too much, and sometimes he interrupts me. It's okay. Like we've known each other for a while.
Why don't you finish your story, and then you can let Brent back. How's that sound? I want to hear your story.
She was in a meeting, and they were sitting around talking, and she, like a staffer, was not snapping too. And she said, "Are you slow or something?" Not like, "Are you mentally retarded?" but like, "Are you having a hard time? What's going on here?" And the activists in the room spent the entire meeting talking about why that phrasing was the wrong way to do things. So it gets to the end of their meeting and nothing is fucking accomplished. Not a goddamn thing. And like the chief of staff's point was, this is the thing that happens to the Democrats. They perform well, they can't seem to get out of their own way. Right? In the same way that Republicans in some states have that exact problem. But I thought that was very valuable, that as bad as the Republican Party is saving grace to the Democrats, because they distract themselves from the truth, which was my point about talking about the economy over talking about a thing like Epstein or something superfluous, right? If they bow to the petty picking instincts, they will pick, I hate Donald Trump. If they go with the smart play, they'll look for the pocketbook and say, hey, this is about the economy. Donald Trump didn't tell you the truth. He fed you a line of bullshit and everything's more expensive. And they'll win. They'll win on that. Because I'm running into voters who that's their top issue. Right? But I don't think we needed to kick Brent. But I can understand why people say.
I didn't kick Brent. I was just going.
No, I think he left because we moved him down twice.
All right, he won't be missed. Trust me, he will not be missed.
So,
Caleb, wait, I'm gonna invite Caleb to join me in this fest. I don't know, Caleb. I'm looking for. You know what? I think that Caleb can speak to this. I think the Democrats have lost their way when it comes to Israel, Palestine, and Islam, and they are just not gonna. So they're gonna come out and say we are against the war in Iran, and they're gonna stand there with their hands together, outstretched, with 13 people named Mohammed, and say we support the Islamic Republic of Iran. And this is just gonna be so. This is just gonna be. It's gonna be the end.
What is the problem with that, Benjamin? What is the problem with that?
What is the problem with the
Yeah, what is the problem with the Democrats?
Democrats?
No, listen. What is the
Supporting the
problem with it
Islamic
being?
Republic
What
of
is the
Iran?
problem with it being the end for them? What is the problem? This is
Uh,
not a problem. It means that we will continue with the foreign policy of Donald Trump and the policy of Donald Trump, which will be good. Okay, if we get 4 more years of that, it will be a positive thing. This is not a problem. I don't understand what you're worried about here. You should be telling your Democrat friends, stop trying to help your Democrat friends win an election and ruin the country. Okay, they're just going to be delaying the hard work that has to be done to make this country great.
that's certainly one view.
Yeah, so what's the problem?
Didn't Democrats do that a couple of years ago when they were all the money they stuck behind specific Republican candidates that they thought were easier to beat? Is that kind of what you're talking about, Jason?
No, I'm saying I don't see what is the point of Benjamin's complaint. Yes, the Democrats are going to do this thing and then they're going to lose. And so what? Is that bad? Is there a problem here, Benjamin, that you're trying to solve? Because let's say they win, what policies are they going to implement that you actually want to see them do?
Well, I would kind of prefer the government were run by somebody who wasn't kind of fun.
Is there anything else? Is that it?
again, as I said,
that's.
No, Marshall, hold on. Is there
How is
anything
that
else,
not-
Benjamin?
How is that not enough of a preference?
But is that it? Is that all? You don't have any policy preference that is important to you?
I think that Donald Trump is corrupt in self-serving ways.
Okay, but what about policy preferences? Is there a policy that from the Democrats that you want? Because I hate to break it to you, you don't know. You honestly don't know the people you elect, what kind of criminals they are. Whether they're Democrats Democrats or Republicans. All right. And, the biggest criminal is usually the one who gets to be the nominee. I mean, that's just so we're finding the biggest criminal that they have.
Jason, don't Republicans want to persecute the LGBTQ plus population?
Only some people. I don't, for example.
In Texas, they're trying to make it illegal to identify as trans. It would be a felony. And so, Jason, wouldn't that be a
Wait. Hold on a second.
He asked me.
Oh, sorry.
And Labubu, okay, that might be yours, but I asked Benjamin what is his, right? And Benjamin has nothing, right? Do you see what I'm getting at with Labubu? Like, he's like, well, there is a big problem if the Democrats lose. And I'm like, okay, what's the problem? What is the problem? What are you going to be missing out on if the Democrats lose? And he can't say a single thing. He can say it's something about Ukraine. He can't say, okay, the trans thing, or anything else. Okay, he just.
I think Donald Trump is not as offensive about this.
That's not.
Democrat was.
Because that's not appealing to the national. It's not appealing to the national or state electorate, right? Like, I just finished saying, if you tie yourself to Donald Trump is bad,
So what
you lose those elections.
They want to vote themselves a cheaper price of milk?
No, that's not my point. If the Democrats sell their position to vacate Republican leadership as Donald Trump is terrible and he's a pedophile, they will lose. Because that's not what the American public broadly cares about. The American public broadly cares about overwhelmingly from like 10 or 15 different studies, not studies, research, that they're worried about the economy. Again, the Democrats' most success since Donald Trump has been in office has been, it's the fucking economy, stupid. It's not talking about Donald Trump being a pedophile. Like, to be frank, if the Democrats want to talk about Donald Trump being a pedophile and want to talk about Trump being an awful person, I will ride that all the way to a victory and I'll be fucking happy about it because the Democrats couldn't bother to get out of their own fucking way.
Excuse me, can anyone explain me where is it proof that Donald Trump is a pedophile?
There isn't any, but this is also not consequential.
Because I've been hearing that for a little bit of a long time now.
Yeah, but we're not talking about that. The point of the comment was he thinks that's what people should vote on. That's not what people are voting on. They're voting economy, inflation, the price of gas, the price of medicine. That's what they're voting on. And so for the Democrats, who are almost certain to sweep one of the houses of Congress, the best thing they could do would be to argue about how Donald Trump lied about the economy. Hey, you thought we were crappy under Biden, but by God, look at this dude. He promised you a better world, and what the fuck is he giving you? I don't hear those arguments. I hear Donald Trump's a pedophile. I hear he's an immoral man. I hear he's an authoritarian. Like, I don't hear the logical argument.
Can I ask you a question, Marshall?
Yeah.
So, let's just say for the sake of argument, by some miracle, this war in Iran wraps up in the next month, or even 2 months. That would put us at mid-June, mid-July. So let's just say by mid-July, this war has wrapped up. I think you and I both agree, because we both followed American politics for long enough to realize that the American electorate, not you and I necessarily, but the average American voter has a very, very short memory. Like, I think we could both agree on that.
No, memory like a gnat.
Right. So with that being said, so let's just say that this war gets over, and I'll even just say 2 months, in July, mid-July, and then all of a sudden the gas prices take a major, major shift down. I don't think that the Republicans, I still think, I agree with you wholeheartedly that I think Republicans lose one of the houses of Congress. I think that, like, if Donald Trump, if gas prices take a serious downturn and shit suddenly becomes a bit more affordable, I don't think that it's doom and gloom for Republicans. I still think that they're going to lose. I just don't.
No, if affordability somehow turns in our favor and it gets back to low prices in a booming economy, and your healthcare's not taking up 30% of your paycheck.
I just mean with gas prices. Like, I think the gas prices in themselves will do enough to get people to. Like,
Yeah, dude, I think if gas prices calm down in more moderate districts, you'll have an easier time. But I also think the midterms for the Republicans are going to, in particular, depend on how closely they tie themselves to Trump. So two things. If the economy remains poor, the members that nationalize their race and say Donald Trump's the shit, he's the guy, they're going to be running on him and they will probably do poorly. But if you're a congressional member and you're running on your district or your state, and you're closely tying your campaign to the locality, you'll probably have a better time winning while the economy is poor. Now, if the economy goes well for some reason, and if like gas prices shrink, grocery prices shrink, then you have a situation in which maybe you do partially want to tie yourself to Donald Trump because he's brought back the economy. Right, a little bit of pain, like a year and a half worth of pain for 3 years worth of gain, if that's what it turns out as. But that, like, you could sell that. You can't sell a shitty economy. You can't sell a shitty economy if the other side really argues about the economy. If the other side argues Donald Trump's a pedophile and he's a shitty person, well, then the Republicans will probably maintain some control. But that's just because, like, the American public gets really tired of hearing, well, I'm not, my party has some problems, and it's really shitty, so you should elect my party. Or, yes, mass groups kind of bow to that, but the individual American voter, when they get in the voting booth, they don't tend to think about that stuff. At least my experience is
the reason I asked Marshall is, we have a very hotly contested Senate race here in the state of Maine, between long-term incumbent
Susan Collins and Grant Plattner.
And Grant Plattner, who was most famous for having a Nazi tattoo that he just got rid of a couple of months ago.
No, it was the SS Death Head skull.
Right. So, you can't turn on a TV or go anywhere without seeing a Grant Plattner ad. And
God, you guys are gonna be ready when that ends.
Yeah, no doubt. And Susan Collins is all of her ads are touting her record for all the things she's done for Mainers. And Grant Plattner's entire thing is, I'm an oyster farmer, and he doesn't talk about democratic socialism. He doesn't talk about any of that stuff. But he's extraordinarily radical. He signaled to the base that he is a democratic socialist, and that's the route that he wants to go.
He's done what Tellerica did.
Correct. Exactly.
Well,
He's running his entire this very kind of more redneck, basically a more redneck, bearded James Tellerico is kind of what he's modeling, like you say, modeling his campaign after. So it's very, very interesting in a state like the state of Maine, which.
People consider stuff to humor genuine. Now, when you corner him on the Gaza stuff, when you corner him on the approval rating just dropped like fucking stone. Because nobody believes in that covetous, the billionaire shit belongs to me because I don't like the fact they have it. And, they don't, Texans don't tend to like being involved in their national affairs in that way. They want you to talk about the state. So, where he succeeded over Jasmine Crockett was that he talked about the state. He talked about what he could do for Texas. And he hid his progressive craziness inside of, I'm a former preacher, I've been a legislator, listen to me, I'm the calm dude in the room, right? Where, again, if you corner him, the perception of him gets a lot different. But when it's at a 30,000 foot level, people tend to like him.
I want to say on the Tellerico Plattner comparison, they are not comparable at all.
Why? Why don't you think they are? What am I missing?
Grant Plattner is an actual socialist. He's actually radical. He actually has these revolutionary ideas for society. If you listen to his speeches, he actually does lay out his
such as abolishing private health care in America, not having options for public health care, but abolishing private health care as we know it in America. Another thing I noticed about Graham Plattner in his speeches is he uses actually a lot of Marxist terminology. He'll constantly be talking about the material conditions of society. Your regular politician does not use such terminology.
His speeches go.
Let me just finish then. Can I?
Oh, sorry.
Material
He's progressive for Texas.
their policies.
Respectfully, like when you say this, Platinum's doing speeches, who's just fighting for mayors. And again, Susan Collins is running on record, right? She's running on and saying, I'm fighting for mayors and I have fought for mayors, right? So like, I don't think the comparison is necessarily on platform. I'll let Marshall make whatever, he's more than capable of defending his position. The point that I'm making is Graham Plattner is very, very much, like, it's the style of campaign that he's running, not necessarily the policies that he's pushing. I don't think the policies he's pushing, I don't think he's not running on the policies that he's pushing. He's running on the image. That's my point.
I would agree with you on that, in that although he does lay out his policy initiatives, he's running on anger within American society. He's running on the discourse of American society. The structures are thinking.
He's picking on the exact same discontent as Trump used.
Combat veteran, Marines and Army, friend of working Mainer, foe of the oligarchy, husband, candidate.
Andre here at River by River Park.
Sorry, I'm Val. This is Sarah. Hi, I'm Sarah.
He would be full blown, like out there on the way left, progressive in Texas. Labubu was right in one circumstance. Graham Plattner and James Hillary are still making traditional wineskins to transport wine. It's already now for us to fill it with wine.
We started with the goat skin. As you can see,
Can't do that.
it's the whole hide,
Texans don't like it.
with the neck
They
and the
like
legs still
a bit
attached.
of progressive
The
stuff, like
wineskin
Texas
maker's
style
popular sewing
progressivism,
technique is the same for
but
every
you don't
piece.
tend
Double
to,
thread reinforced with
unless you're
pitch,
in the heart of
crossed and knotted for maximum
unless you're in
security and
the heart of
tightness.
each major city.
Now we'll fit the
From my
ombriguera.
experience, you don't
A
tend
piece
to
of
run into
boxwood or
that.
beechwood
Folks who
that
have
is
a
placed here on the
progressive,
skin, so it stays in place.
are not usually out and
Now we'll
out
take the cord
communists.
to
Now,
tie it off.
interestingly enough,
All right,
where I live,
we are tying it up now.
on the Democratic side of the aisle,
Just
there
wrapping
is
it
a
around.
race between
Now
a
we tie the other
gentleman
one.
who is,
Valentine must
actual
ensure that
hard-hitting
all the
communist,
natural
because that's
openings
way
in the
he
goat
advertises
skin
himself
are
when he
sealed
talks to
tight.
me.
Now we are
Versus
going to shear it.
a moderate,
We have to
we
create
call that here
steps
tunnel
so the
Democrat,
pitch can
which-
grip. We
I
make
guess
these
some people
grooves so
like
the
the
pitch
blue dog.
holds later on.
So like your
Done.
socially
Now we
liberal,
turn the
fiscally
skin inside out to
conservative,
start scraping,
religiously
and then we
conservative,
inflate it with the bellows. That's it.
and
Now to pump
the
it
kid
up.
who's a full-blown socialist stands a decent chance to win. Now he's got money, like most of his money has come from Austin Now we start scraping. And this stuff we're adding is gypsum to dry out the flesh. We begin the scraping, which is the dressing. Apparatus is called. This too has to be as sharp as a razor blade. To get back to the point, like I think when we moved back to we put it in here. It sits for 20 days, and once it's been in there, we take it out, redress it, and then put it back in the tan for another 20. What we're going to do now is pour the pitch into the skin once it's dry.
Possible. Again,
be careful that the pitch isn't too hot so we don't burn ourselves or the skin.
Because Democrats on a national level have an incredibly
now we release the air and spread it around before it cools.
They just don't know how to handle it. And if they can find a guy like a Talarico who you could attach radical policy.
The distribution of the pitch inside the wineskin must be uniform to ensure it is completely waterproof.
Then I think that helps them hugely.
When the pitch is well spread and gripping the hair grooves,
you still get your
it's time to fit the nozzle in the mouth of the skin.
Like that brand.
We measure the midpoint so it doesn't end up crooked.
Tim Walz, as kind of like, I'm a football coach and all that.
Making sure that if
it didn't play at all, like it just didn't. So, I don't know. I'd be curious to know your thoughts on that, Marshall. Like, do you agree with me that Democrats have a masculinity on a national level?
I think there is too often in my perception of where I live. I can't talk about where you live. I can't talk about where Pro lives. I can only talk about where I live. My perception is yes, the Democrats do have somewhat of a nationality problem on the state level. On the local level, they're trying to see who is Allison on their nationality. What I should say is, like, he gave me a one-dick handshake, and they gave me that. I shouldn't drink masculinity Christmas. But where I live, I find less of a problem with masculinity in the local party. At the state party level, there seems to be a little bit of a lack of it, even my perception of the national party. From the outside looking in, is they do have a problem. Yes, they're often yes, just like dating up and talking to people and making your life worse when it plays over, I think that is so, take it what it little firms get for national issues. My area, no, the machismo stuff, the Hispanic culture is like ingrained into our politics.
So this is an Amazon worker,
yeah,
and she is a perfect illustration of how Amazon is going to robots instead of human beings. She's getting fired. Check this out.
My perception now
associate aggressive towards us. We tried getting her off property at this point. We asked her and then she started pushing our team. She put her hands on Tyler, like I just off property. Is she like fired, terminated, all that? She's gonna be not officially, she's suspended. I just want to hard property. And that's her, she's being pretty aggressive.
You're gonna satisfy it. I think there's a little bit of that, but like, I don't. I'm a strong sense I'm not in the Democratic Party. I like.
What's your name?
Hanging out really curious of something like a pro.
You need to calm down.
This boo-boo. Like, I feel
We're not
we as a
being
part of that. I really don't have time to rationally on it.
And I'm a young woman, and I'm right to say anybody else.
What's going on?
I'm shooting you, and yeah, my left finger. Let go the joke. Let go the joke.
Can we have a...
You can't break the joke. Let go the joke.
Can we talk?
And corporate speak brings upon its own logic of how to deal with politics. And you really saw that logic just engulf the Democratic Party for a while. And what Graham Plattner is doing is he's getting out of that logic of corporate grammar and going back to a more populist logic and a logic based on anger, right? A logic where...
Like Joey P. Long from Louisiana.
yeah, a logic that directs anger at the political class instead of trying to satiate the masses on behest of the political class. I think a female could have easily done it. It did not have to be Graham Plattner. He simply used the verbiage that is in vogue for the times.
Okay, they are trying to show off.
Moments later.
Male Democrats, most of them don't speak like Graham Plattner. Even the machismo Latinos, right? They don't speak like Graham Plattner. African American Democrats don't speak like Graham Plattner. White people, white Democrats don't speak like Graham Plattner. Graham, like with the contemporary logic of the Democratic Party that has been contemporary for at least the last, since Bill Clinton.
That's interesting.
It is similar to Trump, though, in that Trump broke with the grammar of the Republican Party, right? Which was the language of Jeb Bush at the time, or it was symbolized by the language of a Jeb Bush type. And Graham Plattner is doing that for the Democratic Party. The only difference is that I don't think Graham Plattner is going to do a crypto scam when he gets involved.
I don't think he will either, but I also think he has to be very wary of the state that he's running in, and I don't think that Maine, there's a lot of progressives in Maine, but I question whether or not, again, I don't think that he's not running on progressivism, let me put it that way. At least he's not doing so openly in his television ads and that kind of thing. He's running, I wouldn't say away from it, but he's certainly not running on it. I just don't think that style of Democrat doesn't play in the state of Maine. It just doesn't. I think it does to certain demographics of people, but not to the average Mainer. Maine is still a pretty independent state. It really is. Again, Susan Collins is the incumbent. She's a Republican. She's not a staunch Republican. But we just had Paula Page as our governor not too long ago. And Paula Page was basically MAGA, right? So, I don't know, make of that what you will. Maybe he does. Maybe he has his cake and eats it too. I think, like Gavin Newsom, I think is trying to do that in California. I think Gavin Newsom, for all the criticism I have of him, and I have a lot of him, knows what positions are popular and which ones aren't. And he's willing to signal on certain policies, and he's not willing to on others. And he's trying to play the shrewd politician role. I get it. I think it's a smart play from him. He clearly knows how to play politics. That doesn't say that he's a good leader or any of that stuff. I think he's a horrible leader. I think he's been an awful governor of the state of California. But with that being said, he knows how to play the game.
Jason, you're typing away pretty fast.
Yes, you guys are giving me a lot of good material. No, but it's full. So, look guys, I guess I just don't understand why this actually cares so much. What does he want to see happen?
I don't know. I often run into that problem with Benjamin. Half the time I can't tell whether he's being serious. Half the time I have trouble following him.
I was on a stage with him a couple of weeks ago where he's trying to argue against child labor laws and saying that we shouldn't have child labor laws.
Yeah, dude, he argued in another room. He argued in another room that America didn't spend the better half of the 20th century fucking around in Central and Latin America. Like, going to war, overthrowing their governments, assassinating people. He was just like, not. See them doing the actual penetration, not having sex. The actual penetration. Yes, if that person kills me,
It's halal.
there's no accountability. And by the way, there's no one ever caught in that scenario in the entire history, so it just doesn't apply. You can't find 3 men seeing your wife getting fucked in.
Yeah, but every time they get killed. They get killed every time, though.
Yeah, well, it is something that even in the court, any court would understand that if you, for example, you see your wife, which you don't have any wife, but if you have a wife,
What happened to every single one of those killers?
You're gonna go crazy.
What happened to every single one of those killers?
What
happened to them?
Accountability, there should be.
There is none. There is none because Islam is a piece of shit fault.
No, there is.
No, there's
public
not.
sense, there's no death penalty, but I'm pretty sure there's like some sort of accountability. So it's not like, okay, you killed your wife, that's it, goodbye. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, but you should get the execution. You should get
I look, the death penalty.
You murder somebody.
Commercial matter. You understand? Many people disagree with death penalty. Like, I personally believe it's mainly for the pedophiles.
You don't. For Muhammad shouldn't. You should go
Yeah.
down and kill Muhammad.
This has
He's a pedophile.
reserved to the pedophiles.
Well, your prophet. Your prophet was
Castrated.
But your prophet was a pedophile, though. Yes.
Look,
Yeah.
this kind of religious debate, you can't just trigger that. So you
Not
have to
trigger.
No, it's not a trick, it's a fact.
Let's hold on. I'm not pushing it, too. Your prophet was a pedophile. You cannot admit.
Look,
Because you're dumb.
I don't have it.
It's not about respect. I'm not disrespecting nobody. I'm stating obvious.
Sorry.
It's stating obvious. No. It's stating obvious.
I grew up in a
That's nothing to do
very
with being.
civilized culture called Persian.
No, you did not. You did
No.
You did
Never connect yourself with the Persian
Hold
culture.
on.
Never.
Hold on, sir. So explain to me, was Muhammad a pedophile? Yes or no? The answer is either yes or
I
either
don't
no.
know. I have no idea about what you just explained.
Hold on.
I didn't claim it. Hold on, Rafi. I did not claim it. It's in your own source in Islam. Most reliable sources. I did not claim nothing. It's in your own source. So now the answer that I would like to hear from you is either yes or no. Was he a pedophile? You can say no, you can say yes.
Well, it depends. Like, if is Jeffrey Epstein Ashkenazi Jew?
I don't think. Yeah, he was a pedophile. Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile.
Well, is it the same Jeffrey
So what?
Epstein Ashkenazi?
Jeffrey Epstein was not a prophet.
It doesn't matter.
Was he Ashkenazi Jew?
Your prophet is a prophet.
All right, guys. I need you guys to be quiet. It doesn't matter. You asked me about Jeffrey Epstein. I told you, yeah, it was a pedophile. So it
But
doesn't
was he
fucking
an
matter.
Ashkenazi Jew? Do you condone the fact that he was an
Every
Ashkenazi
terrorist. Hold on, Rafi. Hold on. Every fucking terrorist groups are Muslim. So should we call every Muslim a terrorist? So shut your fucking ass up and answer the fucking question, you piece of shit. Want to be here right now? Was Muhammad a pedophile? Yes or no?
Which Muhammad are we talking about? Like Muhammad did
Your prophet. Your prophet. Your prophet. Your prophet. Alright. Go.
He's a piece of shit.
Your prophet. Your prophet. Your prophet. Was he a pedophile? Yes or no? The answer to this question.
I never
The answer to this question is either yes or no.
I don't know. I have no idea.
How do you not know?
Well, I don't know. I'm not interested about religious theology. Unlike you guys, I'm not interested. That's all.
You're interested in your mom getting fucked in the ass, or what are you
I'm
interested in?
interested about today's pedophiles
there is millions of Muslims raping little girls in Europe every day.
We can look it up together.
Every day. Every fucking day. Yeah, every day. Every day. Muslims. So are you gonna answer the question, was your Prophet Muhammad a pedophile, yes or no? You can say no, you can say yes, I don't give a fuck. I wanna know what you think.
I don't know about these topics. I don't.
Do you know?
No, we get there.
know. Where do you
He's saying to be police officer. I'm saying,
Yes or no? Why the fuck you give them the opportunity to think?
I'm confused.
You have to ask them a question. If they don't answer the question, get the fuck out. Suck my dick all fucking day long. That's it. I didn't even drip.
Yo.
True social. That's vibe code creating one.
Yeah.
Not related, but I came to Norfolk, Virginia, and the hotel doesn't have parking, so I had to park down the road, and then they're like, "Oh, your parking expires at 2 a.m., so now I gotta go move my parking." It's so ridiculous.
The hotel charges for parking? Is that?
Yeah, they charge $30 a night, so I parked like down the road where the mall is, like literally down the road, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's paid, but it's only $10." And but it expires at 2 in the morning, so I gotta move it somewhere else. It's ridiculous. Or I gotta go back there and renew it. So dumb. How do they charge so much for parking? It's incredible.
Right, it makes sense if you're like in downtown Chicago or Manhattan or something, but is Norfolk, Virginia like that dense?
No, it's just they do it because they can, right? You have a car, right? We can make some extra cash. I mean, like New York City, if I stay at the Marriott Marquis downtown, it's $72 per day.
Right.
But that makes sense, right? If I go to a garage, it may be 35, 40, but it's a couple of blocks down. But, that hotel convenience is worth it. I mean, in this case, it's a little bit of a walk, but I mean, who cares, right? So, just, this is the inconvenient part of it.
I'll be right back.
Guys, now that serendipity's gone. I'm just kidding. Monica, happy Mother's Day. Damn, she's back.
I told you so.
To his brother, right? And as soon as he gets to his brother, that horse, when he gets to his brother's horse, leads him right to the finish line.
I told you 100 times. Half of them are rigged.
That's crazy. And then she gives him the full purse, $300,000.
Can you imagine? What is the first prize? They go in millions. They don't go in hundreds of thousands.
trainer gets a purse of $300,000 of a percentage of the 10 million or whatever it was.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so she didn't even keep the purse. She didn't care.
Why should she? 300,000 is like 300 bucks. In her world, in his world.
Where is she now?
Is Daniel around? Daniel Nero?
I'm still confused what that guy was trying to say.
He was just saying, like, how great Mafia is. And yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You love Mafia?
I don't love Mafia. I don't hate him too as well, because I don't think like it is so much necessary to go there which will create chaos.
Oh, but it happened now.
The thing is like, for me, whatever is necessary to become a Muslim, to be on Iman, that's it.
There are two ways of looking at this. You're either with Ali or you're against Ali. If you're
No,
with Ali, you are a
I'm
kafir.
with Ali.
If you're against Ali, you're a kafir. Sorry.
I'm with Ali. Doesn't matter.
Then you're a kafir.
Doesn't matter. We're not a normal man.
Like food there, they're cheap. I mean, it's like $1, $1.50.
It's how much healthier. I've been to China. It's beautiful. Their food has no GMOs. Like their food has absolutely no chemicals. Super processed.
Okay, yes, I do agree. Certain foods are not, but
I
would say
want
meats
to.
are not great.
Back, I want to ask JD this question. JD, do you support Israel?
I honestly don't really care. I think we should just keep apart from everyone else. Not keep apart, but like we shouldn't give them money. We shouldn't give anyone money, and I mean that by everyone. So I don't really support them.
Okay, do you think Israel has a right to exist by ethnically cleansing Palestinians?
I mean, that's their business. I don't think we should be involved. We shouldn't give them missiles. We shouldn't give them bombs. We shouldn't give them intel.
America was the first country to recognize Israel as a country in 1948. Up to 2018, it was giving them aid. That Israel was the only country that could cash in the aid money and use it for their personal expenses.
Yeah, and I'm against that. I don't think we should give them anything.
I know, but the question is, I'm talking about the entity. I'm not talking about the Jews. The Jews, Christians, Muslims, they lived together side by side prior to 1948. Does Israel have a right to exist by genociding Palestinians? I'm talking about the entity.
I guess what they're doing, in my opinion.
It's not that they're doing right now. It did not start 7th October. It started a long time ago.
Yeah, no, it's been going on for thousands of years.
No, not thousands. Not thousands. We're talking
talking about the establishment of state called Israel, right? The modern state. We're not talking about the biblical because I don't believe in their biblical. Okay.
Okay.
I don't think you believe in the biblical. Are you evangelical Christian?
No, not at all. But I know that there hasn't been peace in the Middle East for a long time. I'm just saying
There's no peace in the Middle East is due to Israel.
And so, what I think it is, and because, and I totally acknowledge that they only exist because of America funding them, but I'm saying we shouldn't.
Not just America funded them. 1947,
NATO.
Harry S. Truman received letter bombs by a stern Jewish militia gang from Palestine. Alright? And Harry S. Truman still went ahead, became part of the UN partition plan, and arm-twisted other nations to be part of the UN partition plan. That was supposed to be a recommendation, but what the Jews did, they shoved that down Palestinians' throat, and they forcefully did the ethnic cleansing and established their disgusting state called Israel. So what I'm telling you, around 1948, they were living side by side. There were skirmishes prior to 1939. In 1939, British came out with the white papers, and they said no more Jewish state, no more Jews buying up the land, no more migration of the Jews. What did the Jews do? The militias, they started doing a bunch of terrorist attacks against the British mandate because these fuckers even approached the Hitler. Hey, can you come and help us get rid of the British mandate? And the Nazi said, no, fuck no, we're not coming. So my question again to you, my question to you, okay, just listen to the question. We're talking about the entity. Does Israel have a right to exist by ethnically cleansing Palestinians? Does it have a legitimate right to exist in the Middle East?
Okay, so your question is on the premises of morality or strength? Talk about like
morality from Palestinian perspective, from their lenses, from everything, even from my own perspective. Does Israel have a right to exist by ethnically cleansing Palestinians, by starving children, by killing people, by genociding people, by not just genociding Palestinians, killing massacres in Lebanon, killing people in Iran? Okay, go on, answer it. No, right?
So what I'm saying is, morality's sake? No, they don't. But the world doesn't work on morality. It's like natural selection and kill or be killed sort of thing, which is not morality. That's just how it operates. Now, I will say the United States has a huge role in the fact that they do exist, in the fact that they have strength and weapons and wealth to do so. So we're not innocent or absolved or apart from this whole entire morality thing. But the fact that they do have weapons and have capability, it sucks. Like it sucks. I mean, it just sucks from a humanitarian perspective. I don't want people to die. No, not at all. But I mean, are you going to try to argue that they have strength? Well, of course they do. But why do they have strength? It's because the U.S. keeps giving them money, which I'm totally against. I'm totally against giving every other nation money too.
Hey, you just gotta say fuck the Jews, bro. That's all.
We don't have the. I don't have a problem with the Jews. I have a problem with Zionist scumbags. And yes, there were Jews that did the ethnic cleansing. These were Zionist Jews, by the way. And yes, those are problematic. Same thing with Zionist Christians and Zionist Muslims and Zionist. Anybody that's a fucking Zionist scumbag.
I think anyone.
Well, the problem with that word Zionist. Yeah, the problem with that word Zionist is they spin it and just say, well, we just want our own Jewish homeland. I think it's better to say globalist Jews. Like, that's pretty good.
No, so the Zionists would mean that, you're talking about Zionists, which means that people that believe in the establishment of the state, people that believe in the state for the right to exist, people that, that support the state of Israel, people that don't look at genocide as genocide in Palestine, people don't look at that this is a colonization project, people don't look at it as apartheid system. So, people that live in fucking denial and Delulu, they live in a fucking la-la land, they're Zionist scumbags. So even the ones that serve the fucking idea that genocide in Palestine is Zionist Jews.
Yeah, there's like a second definition.
I'm adding Jews to the Zionists. That's Zionist Jews.
I just say fuck Jews.
we don't have problem with Jews. There's good Jews, there's bad Jews. There's good Christians, bad Christians. There's good Muslims, bad Muslims. It's not about, it's not about targeting one party. We have a problem with people from Jewish paradigm or Christian paradigm. They believe supporting the state of Israel. It's called Zionism. And this is political Zionism. It's not religious Zionism. But evangelicals, I don't know where the fuck these people came from. They pretty much corrupted the whole book. Like, how is this a fucking holy state? It was established by ethnically cleansed, it was established, by atheist, agnostic motherfuckers. Didn't even believe in scripture.
What do you say to them Jews that are like, well, I'm a Zionist because that just means we want Jews to have their own homeland?
Yeah, that's called believing in political Zionism. Political Zionism we have a problem with. But the religious Zionism, I don't have a problem with it. They can believe in whatever the hell they believe in. But the political Zionism is the one that's massacring people, genociding people. The political is the biggest problem we have right now.
That's fair. Yeah, it starts with the Federal Reserve in America that's owned by Jews.
I don't know, man. There's a lot of this thing.
Federal Reserve it's not even, they say federal, it's not even actually like our government entity.
Right. I just say we keep all Jews out of power in general.
I mean, I don't think
that's that's not. There's about I would say there's about I don't know. I would say probably 10, 20, 30% of Jews they're anti-Zionists. They're small numbers, but we can't just generalize that they're all Zionists. Religiously, sure, they're probably all Zionists, right? But then you have a lot of like even inside Israel. You got 1/3 or 2/3 of the population. They're secular Jews. They don't even practice the religion. They don't believe in religion.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Okay, so atheist Jews, secular Jews, they like communism, right? And then you have the religious Jews who also want to enslave mankind. So in general, Jews want to enslave mankind. They're guilty until proven innocent. So just keep them out of power. That's the answer. The National Socialists did a great job of that.
I don't know, man.
I'm not a huge fan of like just generalizing people to you can't do this because I mean that's segregation essentially.
You could add Zionists to it because that's the problem. That's what we have to address him. Because if you go for the Jews, then what about the Jews that are siding with Palestinians? Well, what about the ones that are anti-genocide? What about that are anti-Israel? What do we do about those?
I'm sorry, what?
There's Jewish folks out there, they're protesting, and they're anti-Zionist, they're anti-Israel. What do we do about those Jewish folks? Huh?
When their whole religion is... Yeah, but that could just be a facade.
No, but how is it a facade?
Position.
Bro, you're talking...
Just to say, oh, look, hey, we're good.
You need to go to different McDonald's, bro. Go to a different McDonald's, man. Go to a different Starbucks or some shit. Go to a different Starbucks. Yeah, go to a different Starbucks and then we can have that conversation, man.
He just seems to be a hater of Jews.
Yeah, he is. He just. I told him that.
Yeah, not all tigers. Not all tigers are dangerous, right?
Not all tigers are. Oh my God.
That was.
It's the same thing.
That was bold.
Go to a different Starbucks and McDonald's, bro. The Wi-Fi ain't working, bro.
I mean, you can do that. The app measures aren't gonna get anywhere.
Okay, him, just be quiet for a second. Honestly, you're making fool of me. You are honest. Okay.
Use like a group of people to just.
JD, we understand that. We understand that.
It's pro-goyism. It's pro-goyism.
Can you stop making a fool out of yourself right now? Okay.
I mean, you guys can keep getting smoked in talking about, oh, we're just against Zionists.
Definitely a goy. You're definitely a goy.
Well, we're all goys.
Ace, I'd like to say something, okay? I have personally lost family, property, people I love due to this war and many wars above, and I don't have the views that you have. You are just a bigot. You are a bigot. It is disgusting, and I won't stand for it. It's absolutely disgusting.
Neither would I stand for this kind of garbage.
It's garbage, and it has nothing. And you have no right to talk like this about any type of person. That's really disgusting.
Imagine, like,
Bro, you need to go to a different McDonald's or some shit, or Starbucks, man. We can't hear you, bro. Go to a different McDonald's, man.
this is a problem. It's a half measure.
Go to
Not all
different
tigers are.
Starbucks or something. Oh my god.
Oh, back to the Tigers again?
This guy, man,
I
needs to
go
go
to
to
a few
different
different-
Starbucks. Go to a different Starbucks, man.
Starbucks is too expensive.
Just for Wi-Fi.
Starbucks is too expensive.
Hey, what's up, Chris?
Oh, just for Wi-Fi? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm driving.
Hey, your internet's not good, man. No bueno.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now, though? It should be all right.
It's going in and out.
No, we can't. We can't. You just stop.
Okay, I'll get it. No problem.
Yeah, see if you can fix the internet and then come back. No problem. What's up with the net shake down there? You okay?
Yeah, I'm alright.
What's your situation? Because you're Iranian, that's why you're here? You don't love me?
Yeah, I'm here to ambush them for
I thought you respect me and love me. What is this?
I'm here to ambush the IRGC supporters, that's all I'm doing.
Sam is definitely IRGC. You can go after Sam.
I am not IRGC for the purposes of the.
Look at his voice. Look at his voice. Look at his
The
voice.
purposes of
Sounds like IRGC.
I am not IRGC. USA.
Anyways.
Can you hear me?
See.
No,
Yes.
no, we still can't hear you. Stop trying.
No, you're lying. Okay, so I'll just say this. Just look at National Socialist Germany. They took care of it. It was no problem. That's the solution. And I'll just mute up.
Good idea. Steve.
Al Jazeera is reporting on this, right? So Al Jazeera is reporting Donald Trump describes Iran's response to Washington's peace proposal as totally unacceptable. Then you have Kuwait and the United Arab Emirates say they detected several drones in their airspace, while Qatar says the commercial cargo ship was targeted by a drone in its territorial waters. Iran's military has issued a new warning to the U.S. and Israel, saying that if aggression resumes, they will certainly face other surprising options. Israel's bombardment of Lebanon continues as Hezbollah claims more attacks on Israeli troops. The baby killers, 2 Lebanese medics, and a civilian are killed in an Israeli attack on emergency response centers in Bint Jabal. Oh. How do you say it? Bint Jabal. Bint Jabal. Sam, you can do it, man. You speak Arabic.
Bint is bad?
La Jbel.
You're in Zad, Sam. You're Ibn Zabad.
Life tracker. Okay, we got the state media. Okay, Iranian state media says U.S. plan met Iran surrender to Trump's greed.
Oh my god, they said the word greed?
Yeah.
Oh wow. This is Al Jazeera.
Yeah, Al Jazeera is reported from the Iran state. They reporting it from the Iran state media.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's Iranian, yeah, the top.
Yeah, but Al Jazeera is not saying.
Left the whole, practice of a hardcore like Islam.
Like the Baha'i and all that. Yeah, Baha'ism, you have a big
Baha'is, yeah, they went their own way. But even the Ismailis,
information made?
What?
Huh?
Who's sharing information about you?
I'm just remembering recent conversations about oversharing.
On hating Trump.
Yeah, and you know, and let's look at some of the things Trump has done. People say he's not doing a lot, but
Did you mention
we got, you know, SCOTUS rules against the racist maps, right? We got Dems losing those racist DEI seats, like all over the place. New GOP seats in Florida, Tennessee, Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Missouri, South Carolina. The Democrats rigged map in Virginia was tossed out. It says, I guess, Somalia fraudsters. Remember that, man? Them fuckers are getting raided, including Elon Omar. I think she's getting fucked next. Dr. Fauci, he's probably going to get arrested and indicted soon. Comey has been indicted, you know, which is pretty awesome. Act Blue is under investigation. Southern Poverty Law Center is indicted, and they're fucked in the ass. John Brennan is under investigation. Fannie Willis under investigation. It's you know, I'd say the fucking Dems are like on life support here, bro. You know.
I think they're sinking. I mean,